That's that T-C.
That's disgusting.
Hey! Hey, Mask!
Hi, it's John Romita Jr. in San Diego Comic-Con. Fantastic Comics in Berkeley is the best shop in the world, hands down.
Hello everybody, Billy Tucci here, and I want you all to know that Fantastic Comics in Berkeley is the best effing comic shop in the United States of America, maybe the world! Booyah!
That's brilliant, man. I wish I would have hung out with you, Yule, in the day.
お前ブルース・スプリングスティーンの五感に酔ってるよな。
言いたいだろ、ブルース・スプリングスティーン。
じゃあ3回言ってみる、ブルース・スプリングスティーン。
ブルース・スプリングスティーン、ブルース・スプリングスティーン。
言えてねえから。
言えてた。
They think I'm crazy, but I know better. It is not I who am crazy. It is I who am mad.
Dude, you don't have to be ashamed or anything.
But I'm not a fudge packer.
Then why are you packing fudge?
I'm not. I'm a very busy actor. I'm just here trying to get away for a weekend and do some fly fishing.
Dude, you are in a fudge factory packing fudge.
Oh, that does it. I will sue you.
For what?
You can't just call somebody a fudge packer and get away with it. Hey, is that fudge packer Tom Cruise?
This is where he every day I'm wearing a necklace like this, and he's in this urn.
Is his ashes?
Yeah, his ashes right here and here. Yep. So both of my grandpas right here.
What's that other thing on the necklace?
That's a Punisher emblem.
What's that about?
I like the Punisher just because he's he takes his the law into his own hands to punish the people that wronged him.
Andy Warhol and John Waters, in conjunction with Saliva Productions, present Jim Barrie's beloved children's classic, Peter Pan.
I think I see him. No, that's just a cloud. No, it's not. It's Peter.
I'm flying. Look at me way up high, suddenly here am I, I'm flying.
Yes, it's Divine, starring as the boy who wouldn't grow up.
I won't grow up.
I won't grow up.
I don't want to go to school.
I don't want to go to school.
Just to learn to be a parrot.
Just to learn to be a parrot.
And recite a silly rule.
And recite a silly rule.
All right, come out or I'll blast you out.
For shame, Doc. Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun. Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch!
We're going to start our volleys. We hope you like the show. Now everything is ready. We're raring to go. We'll give you all the latest songs and dances full of pep. We're gonna start with Hacha. Just watch this chorus step.
Originally settled as Ocean View during the 1850s, the city's population boomed with displaced
But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantastic Comics Presents. This is number 226. We get together with you every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. More on that later. For those of you that are new here, we're going to get right on into it.
My name is Yule Carter, comic book retailer in Berkeley, California.
That's right. Excuse me. Thank you, Wes. I own Fantastic Comics and have since 2011, and this show is mainly for the customers of Fantastic Comics. And for those of you that frequent the store, I've got some real big news that I wanted to let you guys know about, something that's going to be happening this week. So stay tuned. We're also going to talk about some new comic books that came out. We're also going to talk about the best comics of last week. And I was on Thinking Critical this last Saturday, and we were talking about some of our favorite books. And I thought I could expand and expound on the things that I said about what I enjoyed. And we're going to run through that also. So we've got a fun little show for those of you that are going to stick with us. Thank you very much. Let's get on to the very first segment of the evening. We don't want to give too much time to it, so this is why we call it the... That's right, the Wrestling Minute. There's lots of connections between wrestling and comic books, whether it be the creators of the books or the subject material of the books, or sometimes even wrestlers will get involved in comic books. Some pretty prominent people enjoy them and sing their praises. And I'm sure there's more that I haven't said right now, but we only have a minute to kill, and I haven't really been watching a lot of wrestling lately. I have been listening to people talk about it on the YouTube, but mostly it's all about, ratings and stuff like that, and, stuff that really doesn't matter. But Jill and I decided to watch NXT from last week, and we did realize that Triple H, the HBK who's running things over there, his real name, if you don't know, is Sean Hickenbottom. And he really does like the bottoms of ladies, because there was a ton of them. But there was one that was a standout, and it was TNA's own Jordan Grace. Now, this is her at the Royal Rumble, and that was a surprise when the TNA champion came on over and wrestled in the Royal Rumble. I had been saying, man, she looks fantastic, and such a marked difference from when I found out about her, during COVID or just prior to. And this is what she looked like in 2019. And I think that is a big difference. I mean, she was putting on bulk so that she could be in bodybuilding contests, and she would get, that veiny look that, when you're working out. But when it settles in and you're just a big badass, here she is again from another view a little bit later. So you can see like she's already starting to like transform. And yeah, that's what Jordan Grace is looking like right now. And if WWE is willing to work with TNA, well, it's a real forbidden door. No, it isn't. It's not forbidden. It's people working with each other. And it does mark a significant difference in the way WWE has run itself in the past. Compared to what's going on right now. And it is very interesting right now. So that, friends, is your Wrestling Minute. All right. Let's talk about the comic book store for, you know what? Let me do this. Let's talk about the comic book store for a moment. Unless I was hurt, there isn't a lot of breaks that I took. Since I owned the store in 2011. And I think it shows. Now I'm the sole employee of the store. Not even a real employee, just an owner. And taking breaks is tough. I have my days off, and I work on my days off even still. And here we are doing this, kind of shilling for the store. Unfortunately, this Sunday, I am going to have to take a day off. And unfortunately, how bad do you want to hear this? I was having a text message with Eugene, and I was like, man, I just, other than the camaraderie, which is really all of the comics, I guess I'm not bitching about it anymore. The thing about the comic store is there's so many great things that come with it, but there's also all the problems that come with it. And it makes you not realize what you have. And we're going to talk about that. What I don't have, though, is a connection with any of my family anymore. Jeff used to work in the store with me, was manager of the store. He's now down in Southern California taking care of my old-ass parents. And it seems one of them isn't doing quite so well. So this Sunday, this is the I'm not going to bury this. This Sunday, store's closed. So even though it says Wednesday through Sunday, this Saturday will be Sunday. And this ain't Wednesday. So I get a day off, everybody. I get to drive. Which of course means I have to get all the stuff done I need to get, that I would do on a Sunday or do on a Monday and all that other stuff. So, I don't know. This is going to be a hell week. But if you're able to say hi to your folks, your family members, I recommend doing it. It'll probably be good if you haven't done it in a while. So yeah, I'm not going to be in the store on Sunday. The store is not going to be open Sunday, Wednesday through Saturday this week. Also, quite possibly, there might not be a comic book show next Tuesday. If I get enough, I could pre-program some, talking about the best of last week before it gets tabulated. Talk about new books that are coming out, and then put it up premiere style. But we'd like to do this live, right? So I don't know if there's a real possibility with all the driving and the emotional status that's going to be, toll that's going to be taken on me. I'm not sure if I'm going to really be in the mood. But, I'll have beers, so who knows? Stay tuned. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel and definitely hit the bell for notification. If you aren't getting the notifications, you should hit the bell so it turns off and then turn it right back on. And you'll know when we go live, when we get a new video also and stuff like that. I also, talking about the store, I had a customer I hadn't seen in a while. And he isn't the kind of person that, number one, has enough stuff in his pull anymore. You kind of just don't notice it. $3-4, it's not even worth hassling a person. But it was enough to where there was some time that had passed. And I was like, man, I wonder what happened. And prior to finding out what happened to my customer, I had already proclaimed that May was one of the shittiest months I've ever experienced in my life. And it's like I could go day by day on so many things that, like, when I put Poachy down, let's say, that was a bad day. But I retail therapied myself, and it was okay. That was just really one day, and all the days around it, but it didn't feel like it was just all in one month. You know what I mean? Other things, bad relationships, good relationships, just you don't really think of the entirety of a month, I feel, as bad. And it was pretty darn bad. And then the last day, this customer comes in. So maybe it was a day before. I forget when the 31st was. Anyway, he comes in. And, it was whatever day this happens. He comes in and he tells me that he's got a cane and he's walking slowly. And I'm like, geez, what's up, man? And he's talking slowly also. And he says, I had a stroke. And I'm like, damn. And you're up. I mean, he's like, yeah, that was just like, a few weeks ago or something like that. And I'm like, and you're already up and everything. He's like, yeah. And so really the only thing that's affecting him is speech. And it was pretty slow. And, you can hard to open your mouth to say all the words and enunciate properly. The things I do every day. This guy's a Giant fan, so he and I, we always give each other shit, but this time not really so much. And I was listening. I usually don't catch me if I'm listening to anything political on the computer or whatever. But I was this day because there was a certain jury that was coming in from they're going to deliberating. And when it was announced, my customer who had the really, I mean, it was only a yelp of joy of it wasn't just that. He was like, fuck yeah. And it was like all of a sudden he was talking fine. It was like that lizard brain must have come through the stroke, and he could actually form the few words that he wanted to form in order to be able to communicate properly. And it was like, wow, that was wild. Shit. So how was your week, guys? Let me know in the comments down below, and also in chat. Speaking of chat,
Hello. 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 Oh. Go. Look out. Hello.
you got to admit that was one of the best transitions I've done on this show ever. Fantinium early, yo. You'll plays it safe. You'll never plays it safe. You'll forgoes the condom of life every chance he gets. Excuse me. Well, I meant more like, as opposed to the videos that I show in the beginning. Did you notice that they were kind of like, what? It's safe show? I came for rock and roll, Spider Guy says. You're going to get some rock and roll. Jilby Pill is in the other room, just to let everybody know. But you can get away with murder in chat because I told her this is going to be all comic book talk. Dwayne Muth, good evening, Yule, and everyone in chat. Good evening to you, Dwayne Muth. Spider Guy, how'd you get? That's cool. I like that. Lane Kramer, hey, hope everyone is doing good tonight. Yeah, I got. So my brother, who used to work at the store, is a godsend because his life spiraled so out of control that I needed to have somebody that we could trust taking care of my mid 80s parents. And so he went down there, and it's great because holy shit, nothing is great. And it's my goodness gracious, I feel so horrible. Also, I'm gonna go down to find out how horrible it is. But my goodness gracious. She thick, Joe says. You are allowed to close your store once in a while, Lane says. Yeah, but then there's all that money issue, Oh no, Spider Guy says, oh man, our whiskey buddy. Well, he's gonna either have to hang out a little bit longer on a Wednesday or come in on a Saturday. But Saturday, come on in if you haven't in a while. Come bug me. Tell me everything's okay. Lane Kramer, hey Yule. So it's next week. We got Gotham by Gaslight facsimile edition coming during June 12th release. I know first issue of Kryptonian Age is hitting next week. I checked in everything. I think you mean the week after this one, right? We'll be talking about books that are coming out in just a few moments. Actually, well, we won't do that. Yeah, actually, let's do it. Now we're not playing it safe.
Why, we sell a dozen a day in this price range.
Who buys them? Tax collectors?
Even if I had to pay, it would be worth it. Just for the occasion.
What, something big going on somewhere?
What's going on right here? It's a big night.
Well, it's just an old run-of-the-mill Wednesday. Well, the calendar's full of them.
Tell me about it, man. Calendar is full of them. I got to bring up the pictures, though. I don't know why I didn't do that bad transition. Let's see here. We're going to talk about new comics that are coming out. My goodness, there's a bunch. Well, I was able to actually get it pretty tight, so we don't have to spend too much time on this. But there are a lot of comics. There are some really good ones also. In no particular order. X-Men number 35. This is the end of the Krakoa era. Soon we're going to have Gail Simone on Uncanny X-Men and Jed McKay on X-Men and Eve Ewing on Hilarious X-Men. I can't remember what it's called. And then a whole bunch of miniseries and side stories and Wolverine eventually. I don't know. We'll see where this era of X-Men really ranks. But right now, I think people are pretty, for the most part, happy that it's ending. Pretty much. Something that is never going to end is Zeb Wells on Amazing Spider-Man. Ed McGuinness is doing this story like he did on issue 50. Great issue 50. I sold out of it. Have more coming in. It was a $10 book, but my goodness, it was a good one. Even the backup stories are excellent. And Ed McGuinness, man, his little yin-yang of number 50 cover. And then this one, oh, this is hot. I like it. I like that story. And I'm expecting to like this one also, although I haven't read it. Another book I haven't read yet, Ultimates number 1. Dennis Camp and Juan Frigeri, I think, is doing the art. Haven't read it, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've just kind of been busy. Batman versus Batmink. All right. That's cool. Batmink, everybody. Chip Zdarsky, Jorge Jimenez. I gotta say, I'm not really into this Chip Zdarsky. I haven't been into Batman for a while, but Jorge Jimenez is the reason to keep coming back every single time. All right. Robert Kirkman's very successful Energon universe kicked off with his Void Rivals. It kicked off with Daniel Warren Johnson writing and drawing Transformers. And Joshua Williamson did 2 5-issue miniseries featuring Duke and Cobra Commander. Kelly Thompson is bringing her skill over to the Scarlet character, and Marco Ferrari is the artist. I've already read this issue so that I could tell you about it. And although I'm not a really big fan of Kelly Thompson, anything I don't like about her is really kept to a minimum. So overall, I think this is a pretty cool story. It's got a lot of action in it. Scarlet kicks ass. The art's good. Probably the weakest art. Well, it's probably more on par to Cobra Commander. So if you were okay with that, you're going to definitely want to get this book. If you're a Scarlet fan, you definitely want to get it. I'm sure there's going to be some Snake Eyes situational stuff going on, or maybe you can figure out what's going on in the snow behind her. Boy Wonder #2. This is a Black Label Robin story featuring the art and writing skills of Junie Ba. Really neat looking book, and although I haven't read it, I recommend it if only for art. Wolverine Blood Hunt #1. His series just ended with issue number 50. So in between whatever new series he's going to get, we've got a mini-series featuring the Blood Hunt storyline. And once again, I'm sure you don't need to read this book to enjoy Blood Hunt. But if you're a Wolverine fan who is reading Blood Hunt, you're definitely going to want to pick this book up. Speaking of Blood Hunt, we've got Blood Hunters #2. This series has like it's like an anthology. It's got 3 stories, 2 characters that are different, and then the Cloak and Dagger story along with Hawkeye, I think, in it. No, it was Elsa Bloodstone. That's who it was. Space Ghost #2. I think I sold out of #1, and it looked really good. It was very serious and not exactly everything I wanted in Space Ghost, because back in the early aughts, Joe Kelly and who was it? Was it Olivetti or Ariel Olivetti did the artwork? And that was the one for me. But then I like the Men of Action. Ghost Rider Final Vengeance. I think this is just a mini series. I don't know anything about Ghost Rider, and I really don't care. The only time I liked it, and I know Ghost Rider fans are just going to like gasp the minute I say this, was when Jason Aaron did it. The art by Tony Moore, and then Roland Boschi, I think his name is. Just really great. Speaking of Jason Aaron, oh wow, this just works so well. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Alpha. This is the beginning of the new series. It's got Chris Burnham working on it, and it's thick. I fear, because I see this Mutant Island story that's going on in the end, or in this at the bottom of this page, this cover, that Turtles is going to still remain very anthropomorphic as far as the characters are concerned. And that's kind of what I never really liked about the IDW stuff. So kind of a bummer for me. I thought we could get in like the Turtles in a real world situation, but I just can't do it myself. Get Fury #2. Garth Ennis writes, and Jason Burrows on art. Sold out. People that like Garth Ennis are going to love this. People that like Nick Fury and the Punisher are going to love this. It takes them back to Vietnam. So, yeah. Kneel Before Zod, number 6. Joe Casey and Dan McDade on art. I've been enjoying this series. Of course, I'm predisposed to like it. I'm a big Joe Casey fan, and oh my goodness, the Within the Eye of the Emerald Empress, but she's like in the future. What's going on here? Yeah, it's got some Legion stuff going on. Isn't that great? DC Pride, a celebration of Rachel Pollack. So Rachel Pollack died. I can't remember. Was it late last year or early this year? Anyway, she died, and DC was really they listened. That people wanted Rachel Pollack's Doom Patrol to be collected. Probably in an omnibus form was the best way for them to get it one and done. But she's a really great, she's a pretty darn good writer. Let's just say that. I was never really the biggest fan of Rachel Pollack, but there's a lot of people that really like her stuff, and I feel like I was disposed to like her less because of who she was following rather than the work that she was putting out, and maybe I was a little bit more closed-minded at the time. But this is a collection of some of her work. You're going to get a Mike Allred drawn story. Got some Doom Patrol stuff going on with her characters. And you also get a brand new story featuring her Doom Patrol characters written by Joe Corallo, who's been on the show many a time, friend of the show, Joe Corallo. So pick this one up. I didn't get a lot. This is a pretty pricey book for mostly a reprint, but I'm always happy to reorder. This week I sold out of the DC Pride, or last week I sold out of the DC Pride book that came out. So this is a second Pride book, but this isn't just a Pride book. This is an entire celebration of Rachel Pollack. And I think it's definitely something a person might want to pick up, especially if they're a fan of Doom Patrol and some wacky Vertigo-esque stories. I mean, they were pretty much Vertigo back in the day. Precious Metal number 1. This is in the world of Little Bird. You do not need to have read Little Bird, but it's written and drawn by the people that did Little Bird. And I think even the colorist is the same. It's Darcy Van Polgist, and Ian Bertram. Oh, I love Ian Bertram's artwork. And if I can sell out of the first issue to my customers, then I will be making available the 1 in 25 variant Trad Moore copy. So pick up this book and read it, because Little Bird was awesome, and I expect this one to be awesome too. And since it's in the world of, you don't need to know about Little Bird, so just pick this one up. Trad Moore. Facsimiles. We've got a Mad Magazine number 1 facsimile in comic book form. Yeah. You all know Mad Magazine is a magazine, but it wasn't. It was a comic book. It's just called Mad. And this is a facsimile. We'll have the original advertisements in them. And it's not quite what you know Mad is, unless you know this stuff, of course. Birds of Prey number 10. Oh, there's that Kelly Thompson again. Birds of Prey is doing really well for me in my store. I think the artwork is really good, and I could care less. I could care more. I couldn't either about this freaking book. It has a bat symbol on it, but my store, my patrons, they love Birds of Prey. So there you go. All right, last two are Image books. Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, written by Jerry Dugan, with art by Gary Brown. And I think, oh no, that's the other book that we're going to be talking about. So I like Jerry Dugan. I've enjoyed many a thing. I've enjoyed many of his X-Men's that I've read. Not every single one, but as we start talking about things I enjoy, I find that it doesn't necessarily mean like I like everything about all of the things I got. So we'll see. And then lastly, Bear Pirate Viking Queen number 2. I sold out at number 1. So make sure you come in and get this one because it will probably be a sellout also because I kept the numbers the same. Jeez. Let's see what Lane's saying here. Yes, I don't mean tomorrow for June 5th release. I mean next week for, and the thing is, Lane. All right, let me turn this on. And the thing is, Lane, I've told you many a time. I don't look the next week out. I don't know. Text me that you want me to pull you in Ultimates. I want to hear it. I want to hear it right here. This is one I can't wait for. Ultimates number 1. Maybe finally Ultimate Spider-Man and Black Panther can get going. Oh, I had a customer, a friend, not even just a customer, talking about Ultimate Spider-Man negatively. I said, no. Fantinium says the Scarlet covers are sick. Yeah, they are. Shout out to Joe. That's right. And lastly, Mad FCBD was funny. All right. Yeah, I forgot to pop the beer earlier. So cheers to all you people out there. And that was New Comic Book Day. There's more, but a lot of the books that come out I order a little bit tighter, as a mini series wears on. And you are only selling 3, 5, 7 copies. There's no reason to get 10 anymore. You know what I mean? Unless you're just the biggest Joe Casey fan and you're just gonna badger everybody and whoa, Joe Casey on Badger. Now that would be a good book. Let me bring in the best of last week books right now. And I've got a confession to make. I think I only read one book this last week. Best of last week, right there. All right. All right, so runner-up, Grommets, number 1 by Rick Remender and Brian Posehn, speaking of Jerry Duggan. I can't remember who the artist was. It was a one-word name. It's like Parks or something like that. And it's all about 1984. I remember I was 14 years old in 1984. And these kids in high school, one named Rick, is the same age. And it's all about skateboarding and the time and trying to make friends. It seems like at least as far as the first issue is concerned, it's just about punk music, family members, and the way people talked back then. That's really what it is. So if you're very sensitive about things, reading things, all right. So the first issue of Paper Girls, Brian came on, and I have when Rick Worley was on the show, he said I have the card, okay? But I want to say there's just they say faggot in that comic book. Can you believe it? And one of the other bicyclists, because they're kids in the 80s and that word was thrown around like crazy. One of the other kids was like admonishing that person for saying that. And I'm like, I don't know if there was that much admonishment. In this book, in Grommets, there's no admonishment. There's just keeping on going on with it, The only thing I didn't like about it was like maybe they used too many things, like too many insults or too many variations on the same insult, so that they didn't have to say that too many times. But overall, it was a pretty fun book, and I don't know. I mean, it's not superhero, it's not horror. I'm all right with it. Grommets. Anyway, I read that today, so I didn't add it on. Most of these are because of sales, including this book right here. We sold out Black Panther Blood Hunt number 1 of 3. I know nothing about it because it's sold out. I got more coming in, but I don't think it's this cover. So there you go. I thought this was a longer mini-series. From what I understand from my customers, this was the last issue. Wes on Thinking Critical said he really enjoyed the last couple issues, and overall, the Avengers Twilight was good. And I was a sellout in my store. Once again, by the 6th issue, I was keeping it pretty tight, but it kept surprising me. So, Avengers Twilight, definitely a book I will have in collected form when it comes out. The X-Men, what last week was a big Pride week for comic books, and this was the big one. It was an expensive, like $6.99, $7.99 book. If I move the banner, we probably know. But it features the wedding, the never before told wedding revealed at last of Mystique and Destiny. And you got it right. Destiny ain't an old ass crotchety broad like she was in the early days. This is actually number 2. Number 3 should have been Wolverine number 50. It was an oversized, expensive last issue of Wolverine, and it was the Saber-Tooth War finale. I had been selling out and getting more and selling out and getting more to the point where I was like, man, this book is like $7 or something. I don't think I can get too many of them. And we sold out anyway. So really in a tie for 3 and 2, we've got the wedding special and Wolverine. And lastly, in the number 1 spot because of sales and also because I read it and I liked it. And nuts to all of you that don't. Ultimate Spider-Man number 5. This was an examination of what Harry's been doing and how he got in the situation that he's in now. And it's interesting. It makes you like Harry. I'm enjoying this series. I know a lot of people are poo-pooing it after the 4th and 5th issue. Chichetto wasn't on art. It was an all conversation piece between 2 married couples. You wanted Mary Jane to marry Peter Parker, and now you got it. What do you think is going to come? What, you just wanted her to sit at home? What, you just wanted her to go and make a freaking movie while he was being Spider-Man? Is that all you ever wanted? That's what you were fighting for? That's what you were arguing for? That's what you said that you always wanted? Why can't he be happy? Why can't he do this? And now when it's happening and you're seeing it in front of you, did I not say that the best Spider-Man would be moving him to California so that his wife could have a career in Hollywood or Access TV or something? Maybe she's filming a Netflix project. And he would be out there not being Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Miles Morales is being Spider-Man. And this is more of a situational relationship thing. And you only get it for 1 issue. And it's horrible. And my buddy who loves Hickman and is like, oh, I didn't think you're going to get me Doom, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't know about this Ultimate Spider-Man. Is it going to pick up? He knows. You don't just read 1 issue of a Hickman book. You read all the issues of a Hickman book. I've seen it many a time. It wavers in sales. And then as it's picking up, everybody wants the others. I'm not selling them cheaper. I just want you to know that. I'm not selling them cheaper. And that's the best of last week. Woo, baby. All right, we're going to talk about comics I like because the whole show on Wes's Thinking Critical Comic Aficionados live Saturday show was Marvel comics that we enjoyed. It was kind of like put on a spot type thing because I thought we were going to be discussing this list. And this list had Infinity Gauntlet, had Dark Phoenix Saga, it had Days of Future Past, it had other things you would expect and some things you wouldn't expect. But nothing that really overall sucked, but some that I just thought were so very obvious. But we took this as a jumping on point and to talk about the things that we enjoyed. Unfortunately, we had some DC heads in the show. And that was tough. So we talked about Marvel Comics. We talked about Spider-Man and X-Men mostly. And I'm going to talk about the X-Men and Spider-Man comics that I discussed on the show. I'm going to talk about a couple more that I didn't discuss because I didn't want to dominate the entirety of it. And I want to, yeah, there you go. And then I want to tell you about some Spidey books that I like also. You can let me know in the chat if you agree, disagree, or maybe like one or two that you dig also. I mean, I've got the I've got the mic here, so you know I get to decide. First up, we're going to start more recently with some Matt Fraction X-Men comics. I know, hard to believe. First up, we had him and Greg Land doing a 6-part storyline called Quarantine. This is when the X-Men had moved to San Francisco and they had their Krakoan Island. I mean, they were off on an island, what, like a little peninsula to themselves. Yeah, so there you go. Also, Matt Fraction wrote X-Men 522, which was a longer storyline, but in the issue prior, Magneto went out and did this like whole Lotus. Oh, it's like this. He did this whole communing, trying to like use his magnetism powers for something that we don't really realize until the end of the issue. It's to fix everything that Joss Whedon screwed up in the Astonishing X-Men. And in this issue, Kitty Pryde comes back to Earth in the bullet that she was stuck in. But the thing about this issue is there's a backup story. And as you can see, it's, oh, you can't see. Let me get that banner down. Phil Jimenez draws this Matt Fraction written story. And it's all about this planet that realizes, oh, damn, this bullet is coming and it's going to destroy us. And as the days go by, their descent into depravity takes over them. And it doesn't happen. And then they're kind of left looking at each other after all the shit they did. And I like these 2 issues. I'm not going to show you every single issue that goes with these storylines, or at least the covers. But these are some really good X-Men issues that I would recommend checking out. I would also, if you enjoy crossover event books, my favorite X-Men event book is Executioner's Song. I usually buy it for myself in every different trade, contraption that they do it in. This collects X-Men 14 through 16, Uncanny 294 to 296, X-Factor 84 to 86, and X-Force 16 and 18. What's great about this is you've got Brandon Peterson on artwork. Not my favorite Brandon Peterson. I think he's gotten a lot better these days, but still very solid 90s artwork. You've got Andy Kubert working. You've got Jay Lee in his early days working. And you have Greg Capullo in his early days working on this series. And it's if you're going to have a big event that crosses over through a lot of books, this is your best one. Guaranteed. There's no ebbs and flows. It's just rock hard the whole time. Executioner's Song, my favorite X-Men crossover event. All right, next up we have, following that up, and this is not X-Men, but X-Factor, number 87. After the events of Executioner's Song, these X-Factor government employee mutants have to speak with a therapist, and it's very interesting. You have really neat looks into these characters you've never seen before. And the reveal of who the therapist is pretty marvelous. See what I did there? 2 issues that go together. X-Men number 159. This is written, of course, by Chris Claremont. It's drawn, though, by Bill Sienkiewicz. And Bill Sienkiewicz didn't do a whole lot of mutant books. He didn't do a whole lot of books ultimately. But this is fantastic, great stuff. It features Kitty Pryde finding out about her parents and all that stuff. And then also or maybe that was this issue. Once again, Bill Sienkiewicz on art. Yeah, this was the first part to it, really. Chris Claremont writing, and Dracula is the main villain. And Wolverine and Nightcrawler have a real cool scene with Dracula. And I love this storyline. Really good stuff. Of course, I like a Kitty Pryde-led issue where she has to once again deal with some monsters in the sub-basement of the X-Mansion. Paul Smith is on art, and I never knew I could love until Paul Smith came around. And thank you very much. Next up, we have Uncanny X-Men number 190. Really good J.R. Jr., Chris Claremont story. Two-issue story. Has a whole bunch of other characters. New York is screwed up by Kulon Goth, and he makes it like a medieval town. All of Manhattan. Can you tell the difference? Paul Smith once again. Oh my goodness gracious. Such a great issue. You meet the Morlocks. The next issue, Storm goes crazy. Awesome. Like Storm, that's the issue where Storm becomes Storm in the next issue. All right. My favorite Chris Claremont that ends, like really the last two good storylines that Chris Claremont did were back to back. You had a 3-part Brood story on Earth in 232 to 234. And then we had the Genosha story, 235, 6, and 7. And Rick Leonardi does the artwork on this one. And I think it's Silvestri on this one. All really, really great stuff. Really, really great. Of course, that article mentions the Dark Phoenix saga. But personally, if you got to have just 4 issues to read, you should read the Proteus saga, 25 to 28. Really great stuff. John Byrne, Chris Claremont again. And yeah, just really super great stuff. Fun. It leads into the Dark Phoenix saga, and you should never read that before you read this. Really, you got to read all the way from 101, maybe even a little bit before. Might as well start with 94. And might as well start with Giant Size. Grant Morrison wrote a bunch of good X-Men stories on his new X-Men run, but this is my absolute favorite. I did a Grant Morrison, it was a twofer. It was Action Comics number 1 and this new X-Men issue. So you can go back in my fantastic video catalog and see this one. Such a great issue. So powerful. I almost choked up when I was talking about it. And I was like, that sounded pretty good. Such a good issue. Such great artwork. John Paul Leone is the artist on this, R.I.P. Sienkiewicz, once again, inking, and Frank Quietly doing a great Zorn contemplating a hamburger cover. Gotta love that. And this would be my favorite comic book of X-Men all time, except for number 1. This is after the X-Men get back from the Secret Wars planet, and Colossus breaks up with Kitty. And Wolverine's like, you know what? I'm gonna take him to a bar to kick his ass. And Nightcrawler hangs out with them, and then Wolverine spots the Juggernaut, and he coaxes them into a fight with each other. So good, so powerful, such a great one-issue story. This is the way comic books need to be written all the time. Maybe a little wordy. John Romita Jr. once again on art, so fantastic, really, really good. And the X-Men, my first X-Men I ever read was 123. We've talked about it here on the show. I've talked about it in the store. I've cracked the slab. It's got Spider-Man in it. John Byrne doing the art. Arcade. So good. It's got pinball. How can you not love this issue? Those are, I didn't mean to do it that way. Those are my favorite X-Men issues. But so 123 is 124. Maybe not so much. I mean, it's good. It took me a long time to get it, to finish it and read it. But, I didn't really understand that whole proletariat thing back in the day. And I really don't care about it now. But 123 is so great. When I say the Proteus saga, there's 4 issues to that. When I talk about the Dark Phoenix saga, there's like 6 issues to that. You know what I mean? I'm only showing you 1. You've got 3 issues of that Brood story, all great. You got all the 6 issues of that Quarantine story, all great. But then, like, my favorite Chris Claremont X-Men ended at 238. Like, I didn't like Inferno. And I didn't really like the Mutant Massacre that preceded it, There was a lot of stuff. Like, I didn't really love John Romita's work. I didn't like Dan Green inking John Romita on X-Men. He would do these, like, lines that I just couldn't stand. And so there are issues that are missing. But if you're talking about, like, my all-time favorites, the majority are going to be John Byrne issues. And then maybe I like all the Paul Smith issues. Maybe some I don't really like that much. That's how it goes. And you're getting all these issues in that. I'm getting 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s of issues. And I'm only liking little chunks. You know what I mean? I'm not enjoying the entire Scott Lobdell run. I'm definitely not enjoying X-Men when Chuck Austin's writing it. I'm definitely not enjoying stuff when Chuck Austin's writing it. I'm getting it. Maybe I enjoy some things. It's enough to want to keep reading it. But is it like, are these things I really enjoy? Do other people enjoy them? Maybe I should be getting those to those people instead of keeping them for myself. This need for comic books do need to be thrown away. So let's be real about that, people. All right, I'm going to bring up my favorite Spidey issues. And depending on how I feel, we might have a few minutes to do something else. But tell me, that's not awesome cover, right? I love Kitty Pryde. I love that hair, the way Paul Smith does that, like thick ribbons, like a Christmas present. So this is one of the Spideys that I talked about on the show, and I am showing you every issue of this. We've got Peter Parker. Did I screw this up already? No, I guess I did. No, maybe not. I thought 27 was the first one. I guess not. Okay. Peter Parker 28. Frank Miller does artwork on this, and it features Carry On. I really thought I had the other issue. 29. More Carry On. This really was like my Spider-Man at the time, and I just loved reading it. It had the white tiger down there. Yeah, just such great stuff. So I talked about that on the show, and I was just like, these are the issues that, everybody's going to talk about Kraven's Last Hunt. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to talk about the kid that collected Spider-Man, or maybe like the reveal of Hobgoblin or Green Goblin, or the first Green Goblin, or when the Sinister Six, and Steve Ditko and stuff like that. And it's all very obvious stuff that a person should want to talk about. But I'm trying to give you some of the ones that, you might not have heard of, like this one. Did you ever hear of Spider-Man's Tangled Webs? This came out in the early aughts, and each storyline or single issue was by a different creative team. This time it was Kari Andrews. And I think I screwed up the story when I was talking to him when he was on the show. But this is still really great, and his artwork's fantastic. Tangled Webs also gave us Flowers for the Rhino, issues 1 and 2. Peter Milligan, Duncan Fegredo, they work together quite often, and they do definitely one of my top Spider-Man stories. Spider-Man Tangled Webs was amazing, an amazing series. Just so really good. Next up, we have Peter Parker Spider-Man number 35. Paul Jenkins and Mark Buckingham were doing the best regular Spider-Man series going at the time. I know you're saying to yourself, "Oh, but Yule, JMS, J. Michael Straczynski was writing, and you had J. Scott Campbell covers, and you love John Romita and all these other people working on the book." And I say, yeah, all of those things are true, but Paul Jenkins, a name you don't hear that much anymore, Mark Buckingham, you don't think of him as a superhero artist usually. Umberto Ramos covers. This single story issue is powerful and amazing, and he did a lot of single story issues. He did a lot of continuing stories, but nothing that went on too long. Nothing that you could just put in a book, other than put all of it in a book. I do think I still have one of those available from yesteryear. This series was very, very good, and this issue, excellent. Oh, there's that Tangled Webs or Flowers for Rhino number 2. I guess I did like it enough to put both issues. Spider-Man number 618 by Dan Slott and Marcos Martin. I think it's 2 issues with Martin and 1 by Javier Pulido, but this 3-issue story with Mysterio in it is fantastic. It's very reminiscent style-wise of like somewhere in between Ditko and Romita, but in today. And it's such a fantastic story. In fact, Mark Buckingham had a really nice, clean, older style that was really good in Peter Parker also. This was such a fantastic storyline. And, you know, the last issue Dan Slott did with Marcos Martin, issue 801, was a fantastic standalone Spider-Man storyline. I will not have all the Dan Slott hate when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I'll mute the... Dan Slott did some really, really good stuff, and this is a proof that he could pull it out. Both of those storylines were really good. Back to Tangled Webs, we have a wrestling card. My goodness gracious, Crusher Hogan. This is written by Brian Azzarello and is it, oh god, what's his name? Scott Levy writing it, with art by Giuseppe Camicoli. And it's all about Spider-Man beating up on that wrestler when he first got his powers. Because, you know, you could tell any story about Spider-Man and Tangled Web. And so they went to the past. And this is a fantastic, fantastic story. Tell me in the comments down below or in chat, who did Brian Azzarello write this with? Who's Scott Levy? And why hasn't he done other stuff? Back when I was a child, I got the trade paperback that cost $3.95 that had these 3 issues in it. The Spider-Man drug issues. If you notice, there's no Comics Code Authority on it. Even though there was like the government would have these like councils that would be like, could you write a story about drugs being bad? And Stan Lee obliged, and the Comic Code Authority was like, a shot of that. Great issues. Gil Kane doing the art. Stan Lee doing probably his best writing. Maybe the effects of pills. It seemed like this is like an idealized version of maybe acid or something, but there's a lot of pill popping. All right, next up, we have Zeb Wells writing Amazing Spider-Man. He did Shed with Chris Bachalo. I think Emma Rios does some artwork also on this storyline. Shed's fantastic, and wow, they really make the Lizard a bad guy in this one. Almost like you can't come back from it, unless you're reading like, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunts miniseries. Well, everybody knows I like the Black Cat, and this one's for you, Lane. First Appearance, everybody. Such a good book, and maybe you saw that Crack a Slab that I did with this one. Kind of an expensive book, but I wanted to get it before it was more expensive. I loved this book when I was a kid, and I read it till the cover tore off. Really good stuff. Amazing Spider-Man. This is when they were going 3 a month. So yeah, 3 issues a month of Amazing Spider-Man. Everything was leading up to the Grim Hunt. Joe Kelly, man of action. Michael Lark, not a man of action, but just a really solid artist. Matt Hollingsworth on art. Got some cool backup stories by people. Oh yeah, that Stan Lee that Marcos Martin was doing. They had like a 2-page spread. This was really fun. I was really like everything was ramping up, and I just love the Grim Hunt. All right. Marvel Team Up. I could have chosen more, but I just wanted to throw one of these in. I loved this issue as a kid. John Byrne did the art. Bill Mantlo writing. Bill Mantlo did a lot of the Spider-Mans that I liked, especially those first few that I talked about. And he's a good writer. Amazing Spider-Man number 200. The killer of Uncle Ben comes back to get the things he left behind. What's up with that? And lastly, we have another Zeb Wells comic book featuring Spider-Man that's one of my favorites, this time with artwork by Jim Mahfood. This was a 2-part storyline on Peter Parker Spider-Man. It was a fill-in before Paul Jenkins had a big Green Goblin arc. And I love Mahfood. You got some Kyle Baker cover art, and they were doing a whole MTV beach thing. That used to be a thing. MTV, beaches, having fun. And this was a fun book. And yeah, Zeb Wells. Who knew he'd be writing Spider-Man right now? Which leads me into my... Wait, I got it. You guys just... Let's go to chat first. Maybe we'll just end this. Scarlet Fit figures covers is sick. Mad FCBD. I was 12. See, you're not that young. Wait, you were 12 in 84? Are you sure? Okay, I need one of those grommets. Excellent. 190 is one of my faves. Kulan's second appearance, first Marvel. There you go, baby. Marvel Team Up by Spider-Man. Red Sonja, that's definitely one. Without a doubt. Claremont, Byrne, and Austin. Amen. Mary Jane becomes Red Sonja. Yeah, now that's a Mary Jane I can get behind. Xmas issue and first Kulan Goth. All right, I like it. And Dwayne also likes ASM 801. You know, my good friend who was talking smack about Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man hates Dan Slott. And he's not like, oh, I hate Dan Slott because he wrote... I don't even know. He never really gets into when... He's a strange cat that way. And we're only talking comic books. But he doesn't like Dan Slott. And maybe he does. Maybe he's on the message boards and he knows the reason to hate Dan Slott. Can't stand his Spider-Man. I have another friend, doesn't like reading Spider-Man, loved reading the Dan Slott Spideys. I like Spidey from back then, and I like those now. And I read all those Straczynski ones, so ouch. I'm out of my element with Marvel. And all those people, or 2 of those people on the panel were out of their element also. I fear for Wes this week because he's going to be doing Best of DC. And there's less people usually that are Best of DC. And there's going to be less people on the panel available to him. And he's going on vacation. So, and I'm leaving. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. I will not comment so I don't embarrass myself. Well, that's fine. You know, it's cool. We'll maybe we'll do DC next week. If there's a next week. Let's do this part of the show. Thanks everybody for joining us. Think about hitting thumbs up if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and maybe think about becoming a patron. Give us a couple bucks or join the channel. It's like $3.99. And follow us on Substack. It's free. And that's where all our pithy comments are made about comics and who knows what else. Maybe an announcement about us being not open on Sunday. I'm not sure. Yeah, and all that stuff. Because, you don't. No, we're not going to do it. In fact, I think, yeah, you know what? We will do this. I just get scared that we're going to get shut off if I play one too many clips. You know what I mean? So, yeah, be a patron. Give us money, and we might give you something for free, like a video, or maybe an audio experience, or who knows what else. Anyway, yeah, you don't want to be like George Costanza.
My last name is Costanza. That's Italian. So you and I are kind of like countrymen. Huh? Paisanos!
650 you change.
Ah, yes. And I always take care of my paisanos. So here's a little something.
Antonio! Si! Vieni qua! Questa miserabile patrona!
George. These are the patrons. They might have changed this month. I'm kind of a little behind. So if you've been added, it'll be next week. And if you've been removed, you'll find out next week. Oh my goodness, what a day. It's a little warm in here. My goodness, I'm gonna have to start bringing in the air, it looks like, or opening the window. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see, I'm going to your comments. Dwayne, my first Spidey was 72, rocked by the Shaka. I want to do that. I want to do my favorite. All right, so my favorite Spidey issue. Let me see. I can bring that up really quick. I'm going to bring up the picture of it. I know exactly where to go. It should be somewhere. Don't the numbers here? I know it's captivating. Here's my favorite issue. And it's funny that you say that. This one's also a shocker issue. I love the cover. I think I also cracked this. No, I didn't crack a slab on this one. I think I did on 152. I love this issue. It's so funny. J. Jonah Jameson is the biggest jerk in the world, and it's just fantastic. The shockers in it in the end. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Big fan of that one. All right, go back to comments. Fantinium says, you ever thought about just redoing those scenes with you and a bunch of customers? Wait, what scenes are we? Oh, any of our scenes? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's think about that. It'll be hilarious, and you won't get struck. Well, I've been thinking about other things like that. Yeah, definitely. I think this is a pretty good time for me to shut down the show. Just remember, if you are a customer of mine, this Sunday I'm going to be closed. So Steve, if you want, come in on Saturday. We can do it that way. If it has to be Friday, we could do Friday also. Well, depending on what happens with shipments and stuff like that. Everybody else, I'm going to be closed on Sunday, so come in early. I'll definitely Spider guy hold that comic book for you, grommets. And everybody else, I hope to see you next week. I can let you know a little bit more about what I'm going through. It's not really what I'm going through, but what I'm going to experience. And I mean, how crazy is that going to be? I wonder. Until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Lucy and Ramona cruising through the jungles of L.A. Hoping to promote a dream somewhere along the way. They're rolling through the streets, looking for a disco, passing up the treats from a kid named Cisco, trying to make connections with their blemish-free complexions, and just as fate would have it, ended up with Sunset Sam. case on a TV tray. And Lucy and Ramona kept trying to figure out if he was gay. The three of them were standing, staring at each other, when the light behind their eyes blew each other's cover. The ancient code was branded, and each of them was handed a ticket to their kingdom, 'cause they saw their brother sunset sun. Sunset Sam. Lucy was from Compton, and she met Ramona at the zoo. Ramona was from Brooklyn. She left when she was 22. Sam was a native of the Arizona desert, but he split when he was slated for some governmental make-work. Their differences subsided when the common bond was sighted. They were all from the same place that made the famous Sunset Sam. Lucy and Ramona and Sunset Sam. People on the streets trying to find a friend. People on the streets looking for a land. Lucy and Ramona and their brother Sunset Sam. Yes, sir.